A truly linear translation is uncommon. Okay, most translators who tend to translate literally actually make a partial modified literal translation. They modify the order and grammar enough to use acceptable sentence structure in the receptor language. However, the lexical items are translated literally. Of course, right? Because we know English grammar, so automatically we can adjust the grammar, right? So it makes sense. Although some lexical items are translated literally. Uh, Ro ahombong ngusifu pamari boyandi. Okay. Literally, it is I, her, heart, I fasten her. In modified literal translation, it become I fasten her in my heart. Actually, it should be I never forgot her. I've kept her memory in my heart. That is the idiomatic translation. Okay. We don't say you fasten somebody in your heart in English, right? Okay. In a modified literal translation, the translator usually adjusts the translation enough to avoid real nonsense and wrong meanings, but the unnaturalness still remains. Idiomatic translation use the natural forms of the receptor language, both in a grammatical construction and the choice of lexical items. A truly idiomatic translation does not sound like a translation, it sounds like it was written originally in the receptor language. That's why every time when I ask you to translate from English into Indonesian, you have to make sure that your translation in Bahasa Indonesia is natural. Ya, it must be natural, mesti terbaca wajar. Translation fall on a continuum from very literal to modified literal to near idiomatic to idiomatic, and then may even move on to be unduly free. You see here the continuum, very literal, modified literal, inconsistent, near idiomatic, and maybe sometime it goes to unduly free. But you can see that our goal is to produce idiomatic translation. Unduly free translations are not considered acceptable translation for most purposes. Translations are unduly free if they add extraneous information not in the source text, if they change the meaning of the source text, or if they distort the facts of the historical and cultural setting of the source language text. Okay, for example, we have this. I was glad when Stephanas, Fortunatus, and Archaicus arrived because they have supplied what was lacking from you. For they refreshed my spirit and yours also. Such men deserve recognition. Uh, if it is translated unduly free, then it could become. It sure is good to see Steve, Lucky, and Big Bam. Okay, Stephanus becomes Steve, Fortunatus, Lucky, and Archaicus, Big Bam. The sort of make up for you not being here. They are a big boost to both me and you all. Let's give them a big hand. Okay, you see that the unduly free translation version seems contemporary, right? It seems modern. Or if it is translated into Indonesian but translated unduly free, then it could be Gua Gembira, si Steve, si Untung, dan si Akaikus datang sebagai pengganti kangen gua pada lu dan bla bla bla. Okay, the purpose of the translation was to make an ancient text seem contemporary, but the result is an unduly free translation. Yeah. Actually, this one, the source text here, actually, I was glad when Stephanas, Fortunatus, and Achaicus the text is taken from the Bible. Yeah, and the translation taken from contemporary English version, the Bible of contemporary English version is, I was glad to see Stephanus and Fortunatus and Achaicus. Having them here was like having you. They made me feel much better, just as they made you feel better. You should appreciate people like them. Okay, next we'll talk about translating lexical features. Each language has its own idiomatic way of expressing meaning through lexical items. Yeah, languages abound in idioms, secondary meanings, metaphors, and other figurative meanings. Different ways in which a fever is referred to in different languages. Literal translations are given to show the source language form. The fever left him. This in Greek. In Aguarona, he could. In Ilocano, the fever was no more in him. The English translation is his fever went down or his temperature returned to normal. All languages have idioms. In English, to say that someone is bullheaded means that the person is stubborn. The meaning has little to do with bull or head. So what is the definition of idiom? It's a group of words which have a different meaning when used together from the one they would have if you took the meaning of each word separately. It's like bullheaded, right? It means stubborn, but if you took out the bull and the head, then they have nothing to do with stubborn, right? Examples of idiom in Indonesian. You have mata kaki, mata hati, mata angin, mata kuliah, lepas tangan, tinggi hati, tipis kuping. Yeah. So you can notice here that idioms in bahasa Indonesia deal with parts of our body, right? Here we have mata, we have tangan, and we have hati and kuping. Now idioms in English, we have kick the bucket, pass the head around, bump into, look into, take after, and many more. You can try to look it up in your dictionaries. Okay, let's see an example here. The following idioms occur in the Apinaya language of Brazil. In the first column is a literal translation from Apinaya. In the second is an idiomatic translation. You will notice that the literal English translation is misleading. Yeah, let's see. I don't have my eye on you. I have already buried my eye. I'll pull your eyelids. My eye is hard on you. I'll do it with my head. His ear is rotten. You see here that these are translation from Apinaya into literal English, but we can see that they make little sense, right? Let's see the idiomatic translation. So actually, I don't have my eye on you means I don't remember you. I have already buried my eye means I'm already ready to go. Pull your eyelid means I'll ask a favor of you. My eye is hard on you means I remember you. I'll do it with my head means I'll do it the way I think it should be done. His ear is rotten. He is spoiled. Yeah? Here also in Apinaye, the idioms also use parts of human body. Okay, it's too hot to eat. How are you going to translate it into bahasa Indonesia? Actually, you should do it one by one, but here is not possible, right? So let's see. Maybe some of you will translate it into like the food is too hot to eat, makanannya terlalu panas. But others may translate it into cuacanya yang panas. The weather is too hot for us to feel like eating. But it could also mean the horse is too hot after running a race and doesn't want to eat. If it here is the pronoun for a horse, right? So some lexical combination of the source language may be ambiguous. We have to see the whole context for us to be able to translate it correctly. Next. In the process of making an idiomatic translation, such ambiguities must often be resolved and only the intended meaning communicated. Yeah, I've told you, right? We have to see the context. That's why every time when you are given a text, you should read the whole text first, and then maybe the paragraphs, and then the sentence, and then you can continue to translate. Conclusion. Okay. Translation is a complicated process. However, a translator who is concerned with transferring the meaning will find that the accepted language has a way in which the desired meaning can be expressed, even though it may be very different from the source language form. Yeah. Talking about form, we have discussed that we can translate one sentence into two sentences, or we can combine two sentences into one sentence. Okay, we can make a active voice into passive voice. Okay, and also a non-question or question into non-question. Okay, the following example from a glossy brochure released in 1989 by the former car manufacturer Austin Rover illustrates the heavy use of idiom in this type of English written discourse. The whole passage is highly idiomatic and very informal in style. The main idioms are highlighted in bold. Okay, so the following text is for your exercise. Okay. Yeah. A lot of idioms are in the text, so you have to be very careful when you have to translate into Bahasa Indonesia. Later you can submit your translation through the forum. Okay, thank you.